This is not. It's not. It's gonna be weird the whole time with your arm there.
What about if our? Does it look weird with both our arms the same
Put
direction?
your arm down. Why do you also do what I'm doing?
It's not. I don't. I just like my arm up. Okay.
We ready?
All right.
What should we talk? Okay.
So, here we are,
We did it.
back in Portland, Oregon,
We made it back to Portland.
at Float On.
We're
It's our
still
home base.
alive.
This is actually
that was good. I
I
wasn't
noticed that
expecting
too.
that. Yeah.
So this is our last stop on the actual tour, here in our own shop.
Yep. It took us 3 months, and it's nice to be back. It made me actually feel very fondly of our own little home float center here, having spent so much time in other places.
The only one with the yellow walls.
Yep,
Still that we
we
found.
found anywhere that we went. And what have we learned? I guess that's a good question.
That's a great question.
Thanks.
We've learned that the entire industry is made up of really kind, really ambitious, really passionate people about floating,
Yeah.
which has been, I guess, totally expected, but still a pleasure to actually get to experience ourselves. Everyone's just really cool, and it was amazing getting to go and see everyone's setup and just see this industry in this crazy, kind of milestone time. I feel like it's just blossoming up all around us, and we've kind of said it this whole time, but if we went out in another year to do the same trip, we would be able to see so few of the total amount of float tank centers. They're just springing up so fast.
Yeah, and there really is. We just got to firsthand see the kind of sense of community that exists out there. Like the amount of float centers that told us to say hello to the next place that we were going was incredible. Like you could just tell that everywhere you went, even the centers that were closest together were on friendly terms and had gone and floated at each other's places, and there was just a really great vibe kind of to everything everywhere that we went. And even with so many new centers opening up, that really still existed. It wasn't like we were going to the newest places and they were still figuring out kind of how to fit into the community and still nervous to share their information or be open or help other people. It wasn't like that at all. Like people starting up who'd been open for a few weeks were all on board and ready to help out, and had already reached out to the other float centers around them, and it was great. It was just really cool to see.
Yeah, what are, I guess, some of the things we didn't see were many people who were just in it for money or because they thought this would be a quick buck. Every single float center owner that we met was in it because they loved floating and had connected with it on some personal level and wanted to share it with the world. Which was, again, none of this news should be surprising to you guys, since this is the industry that you've already started exploring, and these are the kinds of people you're finding. But it was just ubiquitous across almost every single stop. That was the same story over and over again, regardless of kind of the incarnation of it.
We also didn't really see people who were unhappy or regretful of their decision to open a float center. I mean, we got a lot of the same stories of things being very difficult and, salt destroying everything and these things kind of taking a huge amount of effort to run. But at the end of all of that, it was people were telling us these stories with a smile on their face and happy to go back in the next day and do it all over again. And even people who we saw who had left high-paying jobs or great positions in other companies and stuff like that all seemed to be just so fulfilled with what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard not to be. There's not many industries where just every day you are actually changing people's lives, And the float industry is one of those where, every single day there's people coming out of your tanks and hugging you and telling you that you made this huge impact. Not just on their day, but in their lives in general. And it turns out that ends up producing happy workers there and happy owners who, again, despite the many, many challenges of running and opening a float tank center, just seem totally stoked on that change that they get to impact.
Yeah, and happy floaters. That was really great too. Sometimes, here in our shop in Float On, I get to see people come out of their tanks and hear these incredible stories and see them smiling and have people come back every week and see how it's changing people's lives. And sometimes it's hard to kind of even realize that that's happening everywhere in every single float tank center out there. And to actually just get to see that when we'd go by a place and floaters happened to be coming out, and they'd come out and they were those float centers regulars, back for their regular Friday float and sharing their really great experiences with us. I don't know, it just made me feel great about the work that people are doing. You know, there's so many float centers opening, and that just means there's so many people out there floating in a way that just hasn't existed before, and it makes me feel like the world's becoming a slightly better place.
I was just thinking about that one center where the guy like stumbled out of his float and was just like, "Whoa, that was crazy! I need to sit down."
Yeah, and then the person whose friend came out after him was like, "Yeah, I told you so." Kind of walked out on their own. That was great.
Yeah, yeah. You talking about seeing the floaters definitely reminded me of that. So, so what were some things that we definitely thought we were going to see or do, or that Float Tour was going to kind of take the shape of beforehand, that definitely did not end up being the case once we actually got on tour?
You know, I thought I would see almost like a lot more variety in the kind of setups people had in their float centers, but there was actually like a lot more similarities than I thought they were going to be. It seems like there's these certain kind of ideas that have managed to spread very quickly across the float industry. Like pretty much every center out there has a little float journal sitting on their coffee table, which is really excellent.
And they're all amazing.
Yeah, or like a wall that they have up that people write kind of great float experiences on. You know, we got to see a lot of the same issue of float tanks not fitting into rooms, and people like starting to build bigger hallways, and you know, lots of people just offering cool things like tea and comfortable couches, and yeah, it was kind of the first time that I felt like there was a general like float center type of, you know, setup out there, and that it's kind of an awesome one. Like, it's just a lot of float centers look like places that are very enjoyable to hang out and spend some time. And so I don't know, it's nice kind of getting a kind of better sense of what those actual consistencies are.
Yeah, totally. Same for just going out and seeing if there's cool ideas out there that we hadn't thought of or that we hadn't seen in other centers or heard of yet. And the amount that there weren't that many surprises out there was also itself kind of surprising. I definitely thought that we'd come back with just like a million things that we wanted to implement in our own float-on shop, and there's not as much that I kind of took away from that tactical stuff. There's stuff that we don't have that I've known for a while that I want, like
Yeah.
a giant pull-down industrial hose, you know. But
I think it's just a testament to how good the float industry is at communicating. You know, it's not that that there aren't people out there doing great things and having great things set up in their center that we definitely don't have here. It's just that like when you look around the industries, people are so open to sharing their ideas that like words kind of spread around already when someone comes up with something great. So yeah, to me it was almost like exciting that we knew so much already going into it. I think it just means that when something good happens or someone comes up with something that will make their life easier, that they're so willing to share it, and the industry's so willing to embrace it, that you know the collective knowledge is kind of very quick to spread.
yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I didn't mean to say that I knew everything going into it. Um, yeah, I also definitely thought that we'd float at all of the new float tanks as we hit them.
Yeah, that became difficult.
We had this like rule going into it that we were going to float anytime we encountered a float tank that we hadn't floated in before. We'd have to hop in it, which we did to some extent, but we immediately, like for all the one-off tanks that people had just built themselves, we
Yeah.
like lost that the first day.
It was
We,
the
like,
first center that we
Yeah.
visited where we didn't have time to float. There was a tank we'd never been in. We're like, okay, well there goes that idea.
Yeah, so that was definitely, our plans were bigger than our stomachs.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess to kind of wrap this up, I also just want to say a huge thank you to all of those float centers out there that we visited. You know, everywhere we went, we were just welcomed with open arms, and people took us out for beers and for food, and let us, you know, park our RV in their driveway and sleep for the night, and give us the keys to their float center to float overnight, and they would just be back in the morning. And like, sincerely, the generosity we were shown and how quickly people just kind of embraced us into their family, and just how kind everybody was everywhere that we went was both an incredible and very like humbling experience to have. Just makes me happy to be a part of this entire thing, and so happy to feel like we're part of a really excellent movement and something that's worthwhile to put this amount of energy and time into.
Yeah, it really was a very humbling experience sometimes going around, getting to visit everyone. And the amount that we also just got tours around and got to see behind
Yeah.
the scenes of almost everyone's setup, and again, how sharing and generous everyone was with both their time and their own centers and float tanks, and with their information and yeah, just being willing to answer any of our zany questions that we'd
Yeah.
ask along the way too. And again, I feel like I just made like 200 new friends during
Yeah.
the last 3 months. Like this
Definitely.
industry could have, I don't know, yeah, we've said that our tour could have been called the tour of like the nicest people in the world tour, and we had the same stops, you know, like just everyone has been so, I don't know, it's like the kind of people who you'd expect to open up float tank centers or something.
Yep. And we really gave nobody more than about a 2-hour notice that we were coming. So thank you to everybody who let us stop by and change your schedules around last minute to accommodate our
Yeah,
totally
thanks, guys.
unorganized method of going around the country.
It's very true. We also thought that we'd plan like a week in advance when we were on the road and have this whole schedule planned out. And yeah, our rough schedule ended up being our actual schedule. And
Yep.
like we called people from in their own parking lots being like, hey, we might stop by a little later. Like now we're here right now. Yeah, thanks for putting up with all the chaos. And yeah, thanks for the good times. Definitely wear your float conference t-shirts around next time you see us.
Float tour t-shirts.
What did I say? Conference?
Yeah. Wear those too. You know,
Yeah, wear
it's
them as well.
Maybe at the same time.
Wear the tour t-shirts to the conference and conference t-shirts to tour 2017. Is that?
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know if we can pull that off, but if we do, you'll hear from us a few hours before we're there.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. It really was a pleasure getting to see all of you that we got to visit.
Yeah, definitely. Arms in the air. Float tour!